In this video tech tip, we're going to take a look at sketch fillets versus feature fillets. If you don't know what a sketch fillet is, basically when you make your sketches, you have the option to create a fillet on edges that are coming together. Here you can see it on a rectangle, and these fillets can all be linked so that if you need to modify a dimension, it can all be changed. Go to the fillet command, select all of the corners you would like to fillet. In this case, we'll do a box selection over everything. And again, you do have options here to keep constrained corners, but something to note is that these are only for perfectly rounded, symmetrical corners. If you want anything else, you would have to manually do this. Sketch fillets do have good use cases for things like weldment profiles, but by and large, you will be more successful if you want to use a feature fillet. Again, one of the key benefits here is if you want to change a dimension or something, you're able to do that. Another thing too is if you're just making regular sketches and you have two lines, some people don't know this, but you can actually select the feature or the sketch fillet command and select the two lines, and it will actually build that intersection for you and create that fillet to connect everything. So extending those lines and then adding the fillet. So something else good to know. By and large, though, the best way to add a fillet is by using the feature fillet. Going to another part that I have set up, you can see that I have a feature fillet here. What that means is I did an extrude and then used a fillet and selected different features on this. There are selection tools to help you grab all the edges you would like to fillet quickly. And you do get more options when it comes to the profile you would like. You don't have to just do circular. You can do curvature continuous. If you need something that a bit smoother, you can do things like setbacks or partial edges, where you can simply just drag up and down, and that will partially fillet the area. This is something that would take multiple steps to do manually, but the fillet feature allows us to build that intelligence into the feature level for different elements of our parts design. Something that could be handy. Now, where you may want to use a sketch fillet would be if we needed to do a complex loft or surfacing solid operation between this body and another. Simply using a sketch to create that split may not have the right number of entities to make our loft look smooth. So we would want to use a sketch fillet feature to actually get this profile. Now, it will ask you if you do things like a midpoint rectangle, if it's okay to break some of those relations, but that should be fine in this case. But here, when we exit sketch, you can see now we get a nice rounded cutout from that delete face, something that we wouldn't be able to do with a feature fillet. Another thing to take into account when actually dealing with whether to do a feature fillet or a sketch fillet is if your part will be drafted. Here you can see I'm going to add some pretty dramatic draft to this rectangle, something like 19 degrees. Get this sort of trapezoidal shape, trapezoidal prism. And you'll notice that fillet, the arc length is the same at the top as it is at the bottom. Because it's a feature fillet, it builds that in. Now, watch what happens when we do this to a sketch fillet. When we add the draft, it's going to draft this profile all the way up. If 19 degrees isn't enough, you'll see that our fillet is actually going to terminate. So it meets up at that triangular point. The way around this would be to use our workflow from the beginning, or if you really need it to be drafted to all those different faces, the draft command actually won't even complete on our other fillet. So you would have to just use the draft command at a degree that would make sense. So general advice would be to complete your part design, add your fillets in last after your draft, and make sure that you're able to build everything properly. Remember, the key here is your design intent. What are you going to be having to change on this model? And if you want things to update smoothly when you make those changes at the top of the feature tree, make sure that your fillets are down at the bottom so that then you don't end up getting failures to draft like we're getting here.